Welcome to Re-Envision, the podcast where we embrace change as one of life's most profound rhythms. I'm your host, Bédard, and change is my playground. Curiosity is the signature vibe. Joy, love, magic, and freedom are the frequencies I move with. Courage is the embodied state, and duality is my jam. I love to reveal light and darkness, permanence and impermanence, equanimity and chaos, oneness and distinctiveness. Here we have full permission to be ourselves, to explore, to dream, to discover. We'll tap into the wisdom that has always been within as we navigate change with simplicity, lightness, and fluidity. Open to new understandings, new perspectives, and even greater potentialities. So whether you're seeking inspiration, empowerment, or simply a space to reflect and contemplate, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of the Re-Envision podcast. I'm your host, Bédard, and I'm so glad to be coming to you today because today is a very, very, very special day. Today, 8 years ago, my husband and I started our one of the greatest journeys that I've ever embarked on, a life-changing one. And honestly, I've never looked back. So let me put this in context for you. As a biologist, and I've always aligned a lot of my actions with my values of, being environmental friendly. And I say this as a biologist, but at the same time, I started way before that because I have texts written. I was contributing when I was in grade 5 in elementary school. We actually started a newspaper, like a school newspaper. And before I left Canada, I was going through my stuff and I found one of the issues of it. And I was talking about, how it is important to take care of our environment and just our, actions to protect it. So it's not, I was, in that vibe since I was a child. And in my 20s, being environmentally friendly, I was trying to reduce the waste that I was making, everything that had to do with plastic or stuff like that. And I was also embracing, ways of living that had an impact that was not as big on the environment, eating animal-based product being one of them. And I kind of started to reduce my animal-based intake, of proteins, for example, and I was slowly replacing it with plant-based one, like lentils, beans, legumes, tofu, tempeh, and all of these wonderful plant-based proteins. And I was really exploring because I really love to cook. Cooking is one of my meditation in action. I really love to be in the kitchen, in my little bubble, sometimes with music, without music, with a podcast in my ears. It really is something that I take time to connect with my body and to connect with my senses and really go into the motions of cooking and assemblings. And I love, I'm a very curious person. So I was raised with, in our spice racks, we had the typical sweet stuff, to bake cakes. So we had vanilla, we had cinnamon, maybe we had nutmeg. I'm not even sure of that. And then on the herbs side, we had basil, parsley. My mom had a recipe that had savory in it, but that was pretty much it. Garlic salt was not really a big thing. Celery salt we had, but it was really maybe not even 10 spices and herbs in our rack. It was always dry. We didn't really buy anything fresh. So when I went my own way and I started to cook, I really went and explored how much of the ingredients. I have a spice rack like you wouldn't believe. I just love perfumes and bringing all those flavors together. And I also love to like discover new techniques. And so I was really in that vibe in my 20s where I was like expanding on my knowledge about food, and nutrition and what goes into our body. And that was really enhanced when my father back in 2006, when he had a quadruple bypass at 49 years old, it really like struck me as something that I really wanted to deepen and, to have better food and better nutrition going to my body. I also started to make him some little plate. Like when he came out of the hospital, I was at that time I was writing my master's in biology, and I was really doing it like early in the morning. I was working like from 6, 7 in the morning, and then I was going until lunch. And at lunch, I was stopping. I was making food, and I was leaving the house. I was driving to my father's place, and I was, bringing him food, spending a few hours with him until my mom came back from work, and then I was coming back, and I was finishing working in the afternoon. So I really like started to deepen that knowledge for health reasons, right? And I discovered so many things, and it was really difficult because I wasn't supported, and I was faced with a lot of pushback, from all sides. My husband at the time, because I was married before my current marriage, was really like a he wasn't a very explorative person food wise. He really liked like this kind of food that he wasn't so much a meat and potato guy, but at the same time, like when I was exploring with tofu or like with fermented stuff, like it wasn't his jam at all. But it was so like I just felt in my being, and like my intuition was really like pulling me towards all of that, pulling me towards like expanding. And I really started to feel in my body that it was doing a lot of good. And it got me thinking. I was already in that, like I was always doing my master's. And it got me thinking about, do I go back to school, like after I finish my master's, do I actually go into nutrition to become a nutritionist? And I actually went to see a nutritionist. I remember I had an appointment, and I was eating like pretty like good, but I wanted to go further. I wanted to deepen like that. And when I went to see the nutritionist, I think that she thought that I was maybe like developing orthorexia or something, but it wasn't the case. I just wanted, like, I was just curious, and I wanted to like be as healthy as I can. I could feel in my body that I was moving, but she didn't really do anything. She didn't counsel me in anything. She was just like, no, you're eating fine. And that was that. But there was so much that she could have actually told me. It got me thinking about the fact that maybe I should go into doing my whole bachelor's in nutrition. And that's a little like side note, because at that time, well, a nutritionist actually has to follow the nutrition guide of the country that you are in. And the problem that I found with the nutritional guide that we had in Canada back then was really like you could see that the influence from the food lobby industry, and even back then it was pretty outdated, and I didn't feel like it was something that was aligned with my values, and I decided not to. I finished my master's, and then I went on my way. And that was back in 2006, 2007. And when they changed the food guide in Canada back in 2019, I was super glad to see that they were finally like basing their recommendation on the science proven data, as well as what we know about the empirical evidence, like the blue zones, for example, like people that are living to being 100 and being healthy, and what pieces of that come from what they eat and how they eat and how they prepare the food. And, by then I was already a naturopath, and I was already helping holistically clients to improve their health and their wellness, like their overall health and wellness through lifestyle changes and alignment in accordance with their values in food, but also in other areas of their lives. So, I had the environmental piece for a long time, and then the health piece came in, but everything comes in threes. And I guess that I was missing an important piece for me. And, the ethical part came to me, like it was important. Like I was eating organic stuff, and I was trying to find sources of dairy products that were more ethical. And right now I'm doing air quotes here. And my current husband and I were really into that. And in 2015, we even wanted to deepen together like all of that and become even more, we're becoming even more aware of the ethical piece of the puzzle. And so in 2015, we wanted to control a little bit more of the process, and we teamed up with a friend that was living up north, and we raised chickens and rabbits for slaughter. That year in September 2015, we did slaughter rabbits, and in November we slaughtered a chicken. Now, I'm not going to go into details to this, but I can tell you that experience really was an eye-opening, to say the least. And it really shifted the last piece in me that I needed to learn, because no matter what the raising conditions are, no matter what the slaughtering conditions are, there's no ethical way to take a life away. And especially in a world where there's so many alternatives options that are available, and they're like can really like expand on other stuff. Like for us, it didn't make any sense. And another thing happened with me specifically, because I was the one doing the slaughtering. I began to think about the workers, and this part of the whole picture never occurred to me. I started to read about, what the impact of workers that work in slaughterhouses, in my country, but like all around the world. What is the impact, like, because they suffer from desensitization, PTSD, there's higher level of alcoholism and drug abuse, there's more violence in the family. So it's not just the workers, it's also the extended family. So for me, like the ethical piece reached like other territories in my mind that I had never even thought of. And that was that, like that was the piece that was missing for it. And it wasn't just the meat, it was also like the milk and egg industry that is based on female reproductive expectations. So the feminist in me was not sitting very well with that. And that is a lot to say, because I used to be a very, very, very big dairy product consumer. When people say I can never give up dairy or milk or dairy products, I always say if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not even funny. I have stories that are really funny about that. It's like, late night, like 1 o'clock, I figure out that we don't have any milk in the fridge, and like my husband has to go out at the 24-hour corner store to get some milk for the next day, because otherwise I couldn't sleep. So that was actually really like a big shift for me. And so in early December 2015, my husband, we were watching a documentary on health. I think it was Force Over Knives. I'll put the link in the show notes, and based on everything that has to do with the China study. And after watching that, my husband, asked me, I always say it's the second most romantic question after "Will you marry me?" that he asked me. So we watched that, and then we were sitting on the couch, and he turned around and looked at me, and then he said, I think it's time we walk the talk. And then I said, I think so. And then he asked me the question, will you go vegan with me? And I answered on one condition. And he was like, okay, what's the condition? And I said, promise me that we will always strive to stay joyful vegans, that we will not become bitter or angry vegans. And then he said, I promise. So the following weeks, we actually finished all the animal derived products in the house. We have 2 dogs, so we actually had a lot of things that we could give them. We cook for the dogs, so we give them, and we basically clean up our diet slowly. We didn't throw anything out. We just kind of finish what we had, which also, had the pro not to be wasteful, but at the same time, every time that we were finishing something, we were, we had a little buffer time where we were finding alternatives and expanding out further on ingredients and techniques. And on January 28th, 2016 was the official day that we stopped eating any animal-based product. And honestly, while the journey was challenging at times, I must truly say that it was always uplifting and always expensive for our souls, because it was so close to our values of love and compassion that was the driver. We didn't go into veganism in a lack mindset. We went into veganism with an abundance mindset, and we never felt deprived of anything. And if anything, right now, what we notice is that for a lot of people, veganism is very restrictive, but for us, it's not. The standard American diet is restrictive because it's always the same things. There's not a lot of variety in that. And when we shift our mindset from a mindset of lack to a mindset of abundance, and we really align with what we truly are here to do. And for us, it was really to live a life that was driven by love and driven by compassion and driven by growth and evolution and expansion. There was nothing that was actually going to throw us off. And I think that we really have to align on that when we do journeys like this, when we align with our values. So yeah, we actually never looked back, and we're very happy. So I'm recording this episode on the day of our anniversary of 8 years. And my husband this morning sent me, because I'm in Mexico right now, he's back home with Germany, and he sent me a happy anniversary. So I'm very happy to be celebrating this 8 years. And at first it was for environmental reasons, and then it came to health reasons, and then the ethical reasons. And I'm finding lately that I'm entering in the spiritual deepening of my compassionate lifestyle journey with alignment and coherence with my values, with my intuition, with my soul's mission. That is love. That is just boundless love. So I hope that you've learned a little bit more about myself and why we are vegan, what brought us to taking the decision and embodying that in our lives. And I must say that a lot of the times when we go vegan, we're so caught up on like, what am I going to eat? And we're really missing the mindset part. And we're really missing the anchoring and the grounding and the centering within ourselves. And if it's something that you would like to deepen and something that you want to explore, but you don't know how, or you are already and you're having issues, I have so much to give you. I have so much coaching and mentoring to give you with all of this. I didn't have support when I was younger. When we were together, we were in our little couples bubbles as well, supporting each other. But if you are struggling, if you are listening to this and you say, I would love to, but I would like to have some support, reach out to me. So you can actually do like either the 222 euros for $1 a day coaching, or there's also the mentoring 1 month long for 1,111 euros. And we also can deepen that part in the one mentorship it's being launched right now, and that is going to start on February, which is 123 euros a month. And there is 3 touch points together. There is the monthly call on Zoom. There is the activation clearing piece, and there's also a group Voxer day. So that is also going to be really exciting. I'm super, 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 super excited of everything that is unfolding at the beginning of this year. And I am looking forward to connecting with you in other ways. Don't forget to send me a message if you are vegan, if you are veg curious, let me know. All this time, I was not planning on making an episode on the subject, but at the same time, it's such a part of my life, not in a label way, but in the way that I live. I live a compassionate lifestyle that is always around love and compassion. And that part is just a part of all the pieces that are moving with me. So boundless love, I see you, I feel you. Take care.
Thank you for being part of today's Re-Envision episode. As the seasons of life shift, I invite you to always connect with the truth that you hold the power to navigate your own path with courage and wisdom. Embracing change with an open heart is central, for within lies the potential for remarkable growth and evolution. If you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, I'd be honored, truly honored, if you shared it with them and spread the love. If this podcast has resonated with you, please subscribe on your favorite platform, leave a heartfelt review, and share it in your network. You can stay connected with me on social media at ME Lifestyle Design, where I continue to share insights and inspiration. Until our next encounter, remember to re-envision your life with love, alignment, and purpose. Keep cultivating your curiosity, finding joy, magic, and freedom as often as you can. Now, today, and tomorrow. I love you. I see you. I feel you.